Whose world is this?
Muddy mo, muddy mo. Oh, muddy mo, muddy mo. Ike. What's up, crypto world? It's your boy Muddy Mo, aka the King of Minnows, aka the Dapp White Paper Gaw, and this is Crypto Dap Yap. Alright, so today we're gonna be talking about Tewkenaire's new project, HEXRISE. Alright, Tewkenaire HEXRISE will always have all-time highs. Alright, so we're gonna talk about Tewkenaire HEXRISE and the new HEX contract, and what it could do and why it's very unique to the Dapp DeFi space, and some things that it's going to be doing that can really help us get more HEX. All right, but before we get off into that, man, you already know, man, it's Muddy Mo, the King of Minnows. Man, I gotta talk to my minnows. All right, minnows, one thing that we have to stay cognizant of, y'all like that word, right? Well, one thing that we have to stay aware of is that we can't be late. All right, period. We can't. All right, a little bit about Muddy Mo. For me, one of my biggest issues when I started working was being on time. Like, everything else was perfect. It's dope, man. I was a good worker, but I could not show up on time for nothing. And it was just whatever I tried, it just didn't work. My clock was different. All right, but the main thing is I missed out on a lot of opportunities, and I missed out on a lot of money just because I couldn't show up on time, or I couldn't find a way to be on time to things. So, minnows, just like that, in crypto, dapps, and DeFi, we have to make sure that we're on time. That means when these contracts drop, just like HEXRISE and other contracts, when they first drop or very soon after they drop, we need to get in them. All right, that's how we're gonna get the most out of them. All right, y'all want to hear more? Stay tuned. Aight. So here we are with HEXRISE, all right, from the Tewkenaire platform. So while shooting this video, HEXRISE just came out of like 2 or 3 hours ago. So you see some transactions here. HEXRISE, this is one of the places, Tewkenaire is doing a great job of what to do with HEX tokens. All right, it's basically giving us more HEX tokens. All right, HEXRISE itself is basically a HODL game, or if you guys don't know what HODL is, it's basically a holding game. How long can you hold? It's similar to the Just game in a lot of ways, except instead of dividends, you just get a higher price on for the HEX3 tokens. All right. So the one caveat that makes HEXRISE different and brand new and fresh to the DeFi Dapp space is that the price of these HEX3 tokens, was what they called, the HEXRISE, the HEX3 tokens, always goes up, no matter what, on both buys and sales. All right, and another thing that's involved in it is that you can also stake too. You can stake your HEX3 tokens, and it gives you the HEX value of it. All right, so that's what makes HEX3 or HEXRISE. That's what makes it very unique. And like I said before, it's adding a different contract that you can do something with HEX. A lot of people are getting into HEX, and if you get into HEX, it's good to have Tewkenaire's platform with HEX2 and in this contract, HEXRISE, to actually do something with the HEX. So that's definitely a Muddy Mo. Bing! And like I just said, man, HEXRISE is the first of its kind, man. Shout out to the dev Satoshi. Big shout outs to him, man. So being the first Solidity contract that has this kind of facet to it makes it very unique. It has what's called first movers advantage. That means it's the first to actually do this type of contract. So that's dope. But coming along with that, you got to understand it's also a big risk. All right, it's a big risk to be in this platform because it's never been done before. So let's go over the front page a little bit. As you know, Tewkenaire has all of its different contracts at the top, nice and clean. We got Ethereum, the stable, Tron contracts. We got the HEX contracts. All right, also has the socials and things like that. As you see right now, the balance is at 357 million HEX. What? That's crazy, and it's fast to be that high. But let's look at HEX2. Let's see what HEX2 is at real quick to kind of compare it. And that's the other HEX contract on Tewkenaire. Wow, so HEX2 right now is at 692 million. So HEXRISE is already more than halfway to HEX2. All right, and HEX2 gives you dividends, but HEXRISE is just based around the price of these HEX3 tokens, or these HEXRISE tokens. All right, big risk, big reward. It depends on who you are if you think it's going to work. Again, this is not a contract where you're going to be getting dividends every day, and it's not a contract where you're going to be really going in and out. You really want to stay in it to get the best price. The earliest price is going to always be the best price. that first deal is always the best deal. Alright. One thing that's dope about all of Tewkenaire's contracts, but especially HEXRISE, is its simplicity. So even though it has a lot going into this contract, it's still simple. You see this front page, nice and clean, nice and simple. All right. So you got your vault here. This is where your hex 3 is held, and it also shows you your staked hex 3 and also what you got unstaked. And I'll talk about the unstaked hex 3 in just a moment. It's, you know, some of you guys might be confused on how you get hex 3 here, but I'll explain it in just a moment. All right, this is the blockchain transaction. So whatever's happening on the blockchain, it has it here, which is dope. You can see who's going in and out. And you got, wow, you even got somebody getting out right here, which is crazy because it's really early for that. You got to understand, you know, every time somebody buys or sells, 4% is going to be added into this distribution. So adding onto this price. So that, you know, that's a bold move early in the game. But, you know, some people might have ROI and they just say, hey, I got enough. So whatever. So over here it has where you can go in and out, where you can buy your hex 3. So you get your hex tokens, right? Just say I want to spend 10 hex tokens. So at this price of 1.35 right now, we would get 7.35 hex 3. So, you know, to get into the hex 3 contract, you have to first do 2 transactions on the Ethereum blockchain, which sucks, but it is what it is. It's on Ethereum. All right. So first you would approve it, hit confirm, wait for that to go through, and then you would have this amount here, hit enter, then another transaction fee from ETH. All right, and when you get out, this is just one time. You just exit. You can exit whatever hex 3 tokens you have. All right, but the key to this platform, is staying in it. Don't leave. Just stay. Just wait. Just stay. Don't leave. Now, one of the reasons I say that is because of this. The staking. Staking is key here. All right. And I'll explain more about that in just a moment. But the staking is one of the major reasons you should not get out of this thing early. Especially if you just made your ROI, it's better for you just to wait. So that's the stats here. You see I put in 24,000 of them things, which is nothing for real. But it's a little bit. Y'all already know, man. Muddy Mo, I'm a minnow. You know what I'm saying? So I put in what I got. Now this is what's dope about HEXRISE that's not a part of Hex 2 or the other platforms in Tewkenaire is not as good at this, is the price chart. You see it has a very, very accurate price chart down to the minute almost. This is good, especially for a contract which you need to know the price, especially your price to get in, get out. This is good to see, to know what you're dealing with. So that's fire. And now we're about to jump off into the FAQs. And one thing I love about the FAQs, and I think Tewkenaire, the platform, does a great job of this, is making everything very clear. Very clear and concise. That's very key, especially to get more adoption and more players, because y'all know, man, in the Dapp space, DeFi space, we are early, and we know the space is evolving every day. But right now in HEXRISE, after a couple hours, it's 220 players. We want to get at least another 0, maybe 2 zeros behind that. So, you know, that's where we are now. But let's take a look at the FAQs real quick. Let's do a run through the FAQs. So how to use this platform. All right. So for those of you all who are new to Ethereum or new to dApps or new to Hex, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to get a MetaMask, right? You're going to get your MetaMask. You're going to have to load your MetaMask up with Ethereum. All right. All Hex contracts are transacted through the Ethereum blockchain. All right. Which is very expensive. The fees can get up there for using Ethereum blockchain, but whatever. All right. So let's get to the real question. All right. How does this game work? All right. How does HEXRISE work? All right. So basically it's saying Hex is a supply inflationary token. So basically that just means that it's inflationary. The price is going to always rise of Hex 3 tokens or HEXRISE tokens, as opposed to Hex 2, which is a dividend, which gives you dividends. All right. So Hex 3 is price inflationary. All right. So price inflationary token. What does that mean? That means typically, like in Hex 2, let me show you guys Hex 2 real quick. So in Hex 2, you see we get rewards. All right. These are what we call dividends. Making it rain. All right, so Hex 2 has dividends, whereas in HEXRISE there are no dividends. However, whenever someone buys or sells their Hex 3 or HEXRISE tokens, the price to get in and the price to get out of HEXRISE is always going to be increasing. All right, so that's what it means by inflationary. Now, one thing that's really dope about Hex 3 is that the max loss you can get is 10%. That is fire. That's definitely a money mo. Bing! So no matter what happens, right, you cannot lose more than 10%. That's really, really dope. A lot of these contracts you can lose it all. So just having that alone with the max loss set at 10%, basically means that it's a very low risk platform. All right, and it's based on smart contracts, so that's even better. When you enter, 6% is deducted from your deposit and allocated to the inflation reserve in the pool. Now, also, when you exit, you get 4% that's deducted. All right. So let's just say I got in with 100 hex. All right. The price I'm gonna be paying on my 100 hex right now is gonna be cheaper than it would be in any time in the future. So remember, if you get in early, you're gonna always get a cheaper price, right? So if you come back in like 20 years, the price might be astronomical by then. Now, what's dope about HEXRISE is that it's going to be using third-party games that's going to provide an external source of revenue to this contract. All right, it's not a lot of dApps and contracts in the space right now, in the Dapp DeFi space, but Tewkenaire is partnering with a lot of the ones that are around. So it's going to be adding to this price. It's going to be adding to this this HEXRISE price that we see up here. All right. So what does that mean? So all the partners that Tewkenaire and Tewkenaire HEXRISE will be adding onto this value of the HEXRISE token. All right. So the value is going to keep going up. All right. So what does this mean for us? All right. So if I bought at this 1.35, I don't want to sell my HEXRISE or HEX3 tokens until the out rate is over 1.35. All right. I do not want to sell at a loss. So in order to ROI, you essentially have to wait. You just gotta wait. You gotta be patient. All right. Now let's talk about a very important portion of HEXRISE, the staking. All right. So just like in Richard Hart's AA lobby for the HEX coin, HEXRISE also has staking available for the HEX3 tokens. All right. So if I want to do 100 HEX, I would also have to put my days that I want to correspond to that. So one thing to pay attention to when staking is your current value. That's how much you're gonna be getting after it's all said and done. Now, your current value in your stake can go up if other people that's in the HEXRISE contract staking, if they in their stakes early. So if others in their stakes early, your current value should go up of HEX. All right. So what I did, I bought just over 18,000 of them things, 18,000 HEX3. And the one thing to realize about the HEX3 token is that your total HEX3 will not go up unless you buy or sell HEX3 tokens. All right. So now, after you staked, what happens to your HEX3? All right. So before I get to that, right now, right here shows my HEX3 are staked. All right, and it also shows my staked HEX value. Now, the unstaked portion had me really confused initially. Like I didn't understand where it was coming from, but it's important to understand. Now, once you staked your HEX3, over time your staked HEX3 amount should go down. Why, Money Mo? That makes no sense, bro. Why, Money Mo? That's crazy, right? No, let me explain. It's because the staked HEX3 you have is based upon the staked HEX value that you have. All right, so let's go through it real quick. So right now I got just over 22,000 HEX staked. All right, so based upon how long you stake and how much you stake, that's going to determine your current value of your stake. All right, your HEX stake. So your current amount of active stakes or active HEX in stakes will always show here in your vault as your staked HEX. All right. So why does my staked HEX3 go down? Let me go back to that. The reason that the staked HEX3 is going down is because the value overall of HEX3 is going up. All right. So now that we know that our staked HEX3 is going to always go down, right? Because the price of HEX3 is going to always go up, right? So what happens to that extra value? Where does it go? All right. So after you stake, due to the price raising of HEX3 tokens over time, it's going to come to your unstaked. All right. So it's going to be your extra value here that you can stake. Because I was wondering, like, man, I thought I staked it all. But that's what that is, just because of the constant price rising of HEX3. All right. So you can restake that, or you can do whatever you want with that. That's your extra HEX3. So basically anything that's over the top of your staked HEX is going to show up in your unstaked HEX. All right. So your unstaked HEX is not dividends if you staked all your HEX. Essentially, unstaked is just your extra value that you've gotten from your staked HEX3. Whew, that was a mouthful. Alright, pause on all that. Alright, so that's HEXRISE. Alright, we know the price of HEXRISE always goes up. Alright, it just continues to go up. And this is a holding game. Alright, the key to winning here is probably going to be from holding your HEX3 tokens. Alright, to kind of finish up here, so what are the fees to get into HEXRISE? So overall, like I said before, the max you can lose is 10%. Alright. But when you buy your HEX3 or HEXRISE tokens, there's a 6% entry fee. which 4% goes to that total distribution. 1% goes to Hex 2, which is dope, goes to those dividends, and 1% goes to the dev. And when you exit, there's a 4% exit fee that goes to the distribution as well, that also raises the price of Hex Rise. All right, and if you want to transfer, it's a 1% fee. And also, if you're interested, you got the contract address here. You can follow it on Etherscan. All right, so Hex Rise. All right, so right now we're gonna talk about what Muddy Mo doesn't like about Hex Rise, and it's not much. So one thing that I don't like about Hex Rise is that it doesn't pay dividends. All right, we need our divvies. No divvies. Now, for me, I'm a dapper. I'm a dapper. I'm a defier. All right, I like to see my divvies, and it gives me a lot of reasons to come onto a lot of sites, a lot of these contracts. So dividends would be nice to have with Hex Rise, even if it's like 1% or 2%. I don't think that's a big deal to a lot of people, man. Like, we want to see a little something. Now, although we can stake, we still want to see a little something. All right. Another thing about Hex Rise that Muddy Mo doesn't like is that it does not allow for referrals. Here we go again, man. Like, to me, 1% or 2% is not enough for you not to grow players, the amount of players. Like right now in the Dapp space, there's not a lot of players. So Hex Rise to me should have referrals. Look at Crazy. Crazy has 4 times the players because it allows referrals. All right? Even though a lot of people don't use them, that's fine. But it gives influencers like Muddy Mo a reason to really want to talk about Hex Rise. So I think, long term, it could really help if Hex Rise had referrals. Just like Hex Coin has referrals. Alright. Now, let's talk about what Muddy Mo likes about Hex Rise. Alright. And it's a lot. Alright. But one thing that Muddy Mo likes about Hex Rise is that it rewards those who hold. Alright. So if you hodl, if you hold your Hex 3 tokens for a long amount of time, you're gonna do better because, as we know, on sales and buys, the price of Hex 3 keeps going up and up. All right, so the longer you hold, the more your Hex 3 is going to be worth. All right. Another thing that I like about Hex Rise is that there's a maximum loss that you can have of 10%. That's really good. That means I can't lose more than 10% of whatever I put on here, right? So let's just say I have 100 Hex. The maximum amount that I can lose is 10 Hex. So the minimum amount that I can take out of Hex Rise would be 90 Hex. That's a Muddy Mo. Bing! That's fire, right? That's good loss prevention. So I like that. That's good about it. Another thing that I like about Hex Rise is that the tokens can be staked. All right, that's dope. All right, just like Hex 2, you can stake these Hex 3 tokens, these Hex Rise tokens, and you can get more over time, just like the Richard Hart AA Hex Lobby staking. All right, so that's pretty cool. That's pretty dope. All right. Another thing that Muddy Mo likes about Hex Rise, Hex 3 tokens. This is probably the biggest thing. Alright, the coding for Hex Rise is original to the Dapp DeFi space. Alright, whoever it is that was the dev of this. Alright, if it was Satoshi, I don't know, whoever it was, did a great job because this is original. Alright, they get some Muddy Mo. Bing! What does that mean? Basically, the percentage from people's buys and sales is all going to raise the price. So the price can only go up. It cannot go down. Alright, that's original. That's very original, and most likely we're going to see some clone Dapp. Hex Rise has a lot of first mover advantage because this is something original. Y'all want to hear more? Stay tuned. Alright, so that was Crypto Dap Yap, Tewkenaire HEXRISE. Alright, HEXRISE will always have all-time highs. Alright, the token that just keeps going up and up and up. Alright, so y'all need to get y'all Hex and then go get you some Tewkenaire HEXRISE. Alright. Also, we talked to our Minnows. Minnows, make sure we are not late. Alright, we cannot be late to the party. Always getting these dapps as soon as we possibly can. Alright. Y'all want to hear more? Stay tuned. And man, thank y'all for rocking out with me. I truly appreciate it. It's your boy Muddy Mo, aka the King of Minnows, aka the Dapp White Paper Gaw. And you've just experienced Crypto Dap Yap. Alright. Now, if you're interested in getting into any of these dApps, make sure you hit the links in the description below. Also, don't forget to check me out on Library. Support me, tip me, and share. All right, check me out on Steam It. Check me out on YouTube. Hit that like and subscribe. And last but not least, make sure y'all check me out on Telegram. All right, Muddy Mo, Muddy Mo. Y'all want to hear more? Check out the next video.